You are listening to a Raptors podcast, the place every week for all things Raptors. Get ready and never underestimate the heart of a champion. All right, and welcome back to a Raptors podcast. I am your host, as always, Lucky Roberts. And if you know me, you're probably thinking one of two things. First of all, Lucky, what are you doing? It's 1:40 a.m. Why are you talking about the Raptors here on a Saturday? And first, I want to. It's super fun. I love the Raptors. I know it's been a bit of a tough 9-game stretch. Raptors have lost 8 of 9. Their only win coming against Miami, which was a domination from the beginning to end, which was a fun game to watch. But since then, we've lost to the Lakers, Clippers twice, Utah Jazz, Boston, Chicago, New York, Memphis. So it's not been great. And I'm going to be talking about the latest 2 of those. Bit of a short week, so it's going to be a bit of a short episode. Not only because it's 1:40 a.m., but also I've already commentated 2 volleyball games today. That was the second thing I was going to talk to you guys about. I've commentated 2 games in the last 24 hours, 3 games, 6 hours I've been commentating, and you got to subtract sleep from that 24 hours as well. So it's been a long weekend for me, but it's been fun. I'm excited, and I'm here, to talk about the Toronto Raptors, which is, not a lot of people are excited to talk about them right now because, as I said before, they lost 8 of their last 9. But the 7th of those games is against the Grizzlies, where the Toronto Raptors lose 108-100. It was a pretty poor performance. RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, really the only bright spots. Yeah, Thad Young had an impressive game off the bench as that backup center role. Still don't totally get that with him, at his age, but it worked out in this game pretty well. I mean, obviously, you're going to give up some rebounds there to Jaren Jackson Jr., but in the end, they really came together, and RJ had a really good performance in this one. 29 points, 12 for 18 from the field. Didn't hit any threes, but he doesn't really need to. His play sort of transcends that, and the reason that having him works is because we have so many shooters around him. We've got Scotty Barnes, who's a shooter now, Gary Trent Jr., who's a shooter, 2 for 4 on the three-point line. Quickly is also a shooter. Quickly sort of slowed down from his quick burst that he had at the beginning of his Raptors tenure. Only 8 points in this one. Did have 10 assists, so he's really racking those up. Scotty Barnes had 8 as well. They're sort of the 1-2 punch of dribbling the basketball for the Raptors, I guess you could say. But Emmanuel quickly, he's cooled off a little bit. But RJ Barrett, he's continuing to get to the free throw line, and he's continuing to make the defense pay without having to have a shot, which is sort of the big swing piece for him, sort of like it was a big swing piece for Scotty Barnes, is if he can get a shot, look how far he can go. But it's never really materialized for RJ, but he is still a big body, crafty in the lane, not super fast, but he doesn't need to go move you. He'll hit some tough layups, and a jumper occasionally when he needs to. Second best player, I think, today for the Toronto Raptors was Scotty Barnes. Put up 41 minutes as the Raptors tried to claw back against the Grizzlies, a team where, realistically they could be beating, probably should be, but the tank is on for the Raptors. Scotty Barnes, +2, the only plus-minus player for the Raptors other than Grady Dick, who didn't score in this one, so I'm not going to count him. Scotty Barnes, 22 points, 8 assists, 12 rebounds, 6 blocks. He actually had a 5x5 if you're counting turnovers, but I don't think many people are. He had a 4x5, which is still really, really impressive for a third-year player. Hit 1 for 3 from 3, 9 free throws, but it's just everything else that he's doing. He's all over the place with these blocks. I mean, he's racking them up. He's had a huge upkeep in production, offensively and defensively. You can really see it. He's becoming a polished player, and obviously he still has the steps to take to become an entirely polished diamond in that rough that we found him there, but it still has yet to materialize. And the Raptors see in the future here a little bit. They see Scotty Barnes is the way to build, and they see him being able to smooth out those rough edges pretty easily. He's got basically all the tools he needs, maybe just a tighter handle, and that's about it. But even still, it's tight enough to get past some players off the dribble, get some dunks down, and he's growing right in front of our eyes, and he's muscling up, he's getting bigger, and he's still got that that fight that he had in his first season, and the strength is starting to come along as well now, which is really, really great to see. And other than those two, like I said, Dennis Schroeder not really good off the bench. Bruce Brown neither was he. Chris Boucher hit a three, I guess. But it was really tough, and especially because Jontay Porter got injured pretty early on in this game. Only played 6 minutes. Without Jontay Porter, and now obviously with Odell being gone, we don't really have another center. Obviously, than Thaddeus Young, but he can't play center that long. I mean, he's doing too much as a center anyway. It's going to be interesting to see how we buy those minutes. I mean, I think we might start to see center Scotty after seeing point Scotty sort of emerge. Bruce Brown, I think, did it a little bit for Brooklyn. I don't know how successful that would be. Boucher has at times played center. Once again, not really to any success. He played a lot of center in that season where we were just trying to buy minutes with Alex Len and trying to buy minutes with Boucher at center. So it's going to be interesting to see how this Raptors team changes over time, especially with these injuries. Another player who got injured, Emmanuel, quickly after this game. But it's because this team is going to be, it's as bad as that, not bubble team, but of course Tampa Bay Raptors team. And so it's not a fun time to be a Raptors fan. And obviously Emmanuel quickly getting injured just adds another layer of depth, another barrier they have to fight through to win any type of games. And even with a little bit of Jontay Porter, they still weren't able to beat a Grizzlies team who are 16-27. But the Raptors are 16-29 now. So we're racking up these losses pretty quickly here on the bounce. But I will move now to the more recent game against the LA Clippers. This game the Raptors never really had a chance. Paul George was electric in this one. James Harden, I mean, just the great play. They really meshed well together. Westbrook was great off the bench here. Harden, Leonard, George, Westbrook, they're all just really gelling well here together. And obviously, Westbrook and Harden have played together, and George and Leonard now for quite a while. But it's wild to see. James Harden, Mason Plumlee, even Kawhi all having 7+ rebounds. Harden with 10, Plumlee with 12. The lack of a center really, really was shown here. Thaddeus Young had to start, and he did once again showed quite a bit of solidness. I know that's not a word, but I don't care. He was 6 for 6, had 4 assists, a steal, a block, but was minus 15. Bruce Brown also made his way into the starting lineup for this one without Quickly. So we had a starting lineup of Barrett, Trent, Barnes, Brown, and Young. And I was telling you guys earlier when we just made the OG trade, not made this Siakam trade yet, and before these injuries had happened, where the bench was starting to look pretty good, right? It was pretty fleshed out. And all of a sudden, with a couple of injuries and a trade there by Siakam, we're starting Bruce Brown, Thad Young, Gary Trent, all guys we weren't starting, and our bench becomes way worse for it. Sure, we got Schroeder coming off there, 13 points, had a decent game in this one, +4, only plus on the Raptors. But you got Dennis Schroeder, you got Boucher, you got Grady Dick, and that's all you got. You got 2 minutes from Kyra Lewis. Freeman Liberty got 2 minutes. It's really tough out here. Jordan Nora came onto the court, three threes, 3 misses. So it's hard to buy points, hard to buy minutes for these Raptors players now. Scotty Barnes, 23 points, not really impacting the game as much as he did against the Grizzlies, but it's still anybody's a chance here. He had 4 assists, 5 rebounds, a steal, but he's gonna have down games, right? Only 35 minutes instead of the 41 that he had against the Grizzlies. And he's taken a lot of shots, but he's going to figure it out. He's going to figure out how to carry this offense because we really need him to. There's not really much else around here that's going well. Obviously, RJ Barrett has been a pleasant surprise in a Raptors uniform. He's getting more of a leash than he did in New York, especially with these injuries, and he's better for it. And hopefully he's able to figure out that shot. Hopefully he and Darko have some conversations about it. But even if he doesn't, I think I'm pretty happy with the type of player he is now. Just needs to clean up a couple things on the defensive end, maybe even become a better passer, I think would be important for him. But he's working on it. He's such a solid body. There's no way he can't really figure out defense better. This one he had a steal. And, despite the Raptors starting Thaddeus Young and probably, I guess, Chris Boucher coming off the bench at center there, Jonte Porter did have 4 minutes in this one, but nothing. He's still recovering from injury for sure. The Raptors still was pretty competitive in the rebound department. Obviously, Mason Plumlee's going to gobble up a bunch. Kawhi Leonard's going to gobble up a bunch. James Harden as well. But, Daniel Tice off the bench didn't really get anything off their backup center, Daniel Tice. So it's not horrible. Westbrook neither didn't have that many. It was 50-45 in favor of the Clippers. The Clippers just played better than the Raptors. The Raptors don't have lots of skill. They have a much better starting lineup. They got Terrence Mann, Harden, Leonard, George. Off the bench, they got players like Norm Powell. They got Norm Powell coming off the bench. Norm Powell would be our third best starter today. So that's just how much different these two teams are. Westbrook coming off the bench. Westbrook, same thing. Bones Highland only playing 2 minutes. Amir Coffey, one player who was just electric in this one, though, was James Harden, picking up a triple-double, 22 points, plus 27, 13 assists, 10 rebounds. What a game for him. Basically, all of his misses were threes except for one. He was really, really good, and he ran the offense. As much as you'd like to say Westbrook is the point guard of this team, Harden is the point guard of this Clippers team. And he's dishing it out to Paul George and Kawhi. Kawhi only 16 points in this one. And Westbrook's really running that bench. And it's, you're back to the OKC Thunder days, except the roles are reversed, which is pretty interesting to see with Harden in the starting lineup now and Westbrook. Oh, yikes. Sorry about that. Westbrook coming off the bench. The man's name is Westbrook. Okay? And he's coming off the bench. I do sincerely apologize for that. Yeah, the Raptors just do not have the talent to be competitive right now, and I think that's pretty much by design. I know the Raptors a lot. I saw something on Twitter today where it was a poll, and it was like, do you want the pick to convey this year, or as if the Raptors get a top 5 or top 6 pick this season, it's going to convey next year as a pick towards the Spurs. And honestly, I think I would rather it convey this year in 2024 in this year's draft. People say it's a bad year, and I also like to be, give it away and then have control of our picks for the future. And then, of course, obviously all the picks that we got from the Pacers. And if you can let it convey this year, we still have first-round picks from the Pacers that we can use. So it doesn't seem like a lost year, right? Which is something pretty big. But, we'll have to see, right? Because if you're going to get the first overall pick, you're going to want to keep it. I think letting it convey, though, isn't the worst thing, as I've made it out to be. But, it's interesting that we're not competing. And I think that's just Masai sort of wants to say that we are, but this Raptors team is in no shape to do so. And, against a team like the Clippers, who have been on a crazy run as of late, they're just way too good, way too dominant. I mean, like I said, their guys coming off the bench would be easy starter for us, easy top 3 players for us. And if we trade Bruce Brown, it's only going to get worse for us. As we look towards the future, I expect to see some losses coming up upon the horizon. And as this season continues to go, who knows, right? Who can say? But it's a long road trip now for the Raptors. They're going to be playing at Atlanta on Sunday, then Tuesday, Chicago, Friday, Houston, and I'll be back after that Houston Game 3. Red teams, Atlanta, Chicago, Houston. Then they're at Oklahoma City, New Orleans, and Charlotte. So some definite winnable games. here. You can beat Atlanta, you can beat Chicago, you can even beat Houston. Oklahoma City, New Orleans, probably not. Charlotte as well should be winning that. Charlotte lost to the Pistons, so who knows what's going to happen, what's even happening with them. And just looking at these ticket prices is disgusting. I mean, Houston as low as $5, OKC as low as $8, New Orleans $6, Charlotte $6. Yikes. And then you look at the Raptors ones that are at Scotiabank Arena versus Houston, $40. Versus Cleveland, $57. Versus San Antonio, $41. Versus Brooklyn, $32. Versus at Indiana, $7. It's disappointing to see, to be honest with you. It's really just, you wish you could have the fans here, especially for these games where the team isn't really good and you're still charging a premium, a pretty penny for these Raptors team. And you go to the games, you look at the crowd. I mean, I was looking at the crowd in this Clippers game, at the Grizzlies game, and we're 5 minutes out from halftime and nobody's back in their seat. And you hear a small group of people, even in the Miami game, which we won out of the last 9. There was no cheering. There was no excitement. There was a little bit of that. There was a big crowd roar on a RJ Barrett alley-oop. But outside from that, there was nothing from the crowd. We're getting nothing, and we're losing our identity. We're losing our culture. I know Masai can feel it too. And who knows if he stays even. It's a tough situation to be in, because the right thing is to lose, but it's always tough. And to get what you want, you might have to lose what you have. And that's sort of what we're doing here. And it's disappointing, but you got to make that decision. And I'm happy Masai has. But we'll have to see how it goes in the following weeks. I'm very excited as the clock passes 2 a.m. now. And as that has been signaled, I'm going to quickly go over the landscape in the NBA, and then I'll have you guys on your way very soon. So I'll be back in a second. Well, here we go. I am back, and I'm here to talk about the NBA landscape. And for, I think, the 1800 week in a row, I'm talking about the Boston Celtics here at the top of the East there with the Milwaukee Bucks. The 76ers lost 2 in a row, sort of dripping down. The Knicks, since getting OG, have been on a tear, beating the Raptors 3 games before last week. They beat the Raptors, and they're now 6 wins on the bounce. 2 games, a game actually, sorry, my fault, behind the 76ers. They've really been on a tear, and they're 4th in the East, and they're continuing to climb. Behind them, 1 game behind them, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have been on a similar tear. Right when everybody was thinking about them making some trades, they decided to keep it pat, and it goes well for them here. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and Donovan Mitchell, it's really working out for them well. And the Pacers rounding out in that 6th spot, won 2 in a row since getting Siakam, and somehow beat the Suns after a 62-point performance from Devin Booker, and that was all Siakam, baby. In the play-in tournament for the East, the Miami Heat lost 6 in a row, Magic 2 in a row, Bulls 2 in a row, Heat and Magic 3 in the last 7. Not really going right in Florida, but this play-in tournament in the East is really just a mismatch, hodgepodge, bad teams. Somehow the Raptors are really only 2 games behind the play-in tournament somehow here, even though that they're obviously, like I said, in their last 9 games, lost 8 of them. And in their own division have yet to win a game, which is quite the accomplishment. No team in the NBA has done quite that poorly. If you look at the bottom 4 teams in the East, they're all 2-8 in their last 10. The East is getting ugly. The Hawks, 2 games above the Raptors. So are the Nets, and both equally poor as of recent. And the East is just not, it's sure at the top it's a competitive conference, but at the bottom it's just, name every worst team in the NBA. Wizards, Pistons, Hornets, Raptors. Sorry, did I say? I didn't think I said anything. And that's just where it really stands at the current moment. In the Western Conference, obviously the OKC Thunder, Timberwolves have been, at the top for quite a while now. With the Clippers now joining them, won 5 in a row, just beat the Raptors, and it's really clicking for them. And I'm happy to see it. I really hope Kawhi gets another championship, gets another good deep playoff run for him, because I feel like he gets the short end of the stick after a rough time in Los Angeles with the Clippers and with Paul George. The Nuggets slipping now down to 4th, but they're still very much in that top tier of team. I don't think Jokic is too fussed about being in 4th or being in 1st. I mean, I'm sure it's all the same to him as long as he can get to his pony races on time. I love that ad with him, about with the pony, the hotel ad or something. It really, really funny. Cracks me up. Kings and Suns rounding out that playoff mix in the Western Conference. Sacramento Kings 26-18, Suns 26-19, and you can just really, this is where you start to see the difference between the two conferences. In 7th, you have the Pelicans 26-20, a really great team. Mavericks in 8th 25-21. They're a really good team. Luka just dropped 72. And sure they're 4-6 in their last 10, but with Luka on the court, who knows what can happen. And Lakers now in 9th. With LeBron on the court, who knows what can happen. And with Utah, Walker Kessler on the court. I'm joking. I mean, that's only really an issue if you're the Raptors and you don't have a center. But some really good teams, all, 1 through 10, are all above 500, where you look in the East, and number 10, the Brooklyn Nets, are 10 games under 500. So it's just a real difference. And, the Rockets, Warriors, are also still trying to compete. Warriors, I think their season about over. Rockets may be able to turn it around, but it's now or never. We're getting pretty deep into the season. It's almost February. Wild to say that I've been doing this for that long, and the season just continues to go and continues to move on. And just the bottom of the Western Conference, I'll quickly wrap up. The Grizzlies, who just beat the Raptors, won 3 in a row. Ja got injured. They're still trying to fix things. They're 18-27 this third, as the Brooklyn Nets and the Atlanta Hawks as well. And then Portland Trailblazers, they're pretty pathetic. So are the Spurs. Spurs with the same record as the Hornets, and they're probably the only poor team in the West. And I guess the Blazers, will join that group as well. But that's going to do it for me and the Raptors podcast. Thank you for listening, as always. Some more games coming next week, a lot more to talk about, I'm sure, as the Raptors are now, like I said, 16-29. It's a pretty tough sight to see for Raptors fans, but it's going to happen to every single team eventually. So thank you for listening. As always, you can follow my Twitter. Do what you want. I'm not going to force you to do anything. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.